So today we are going to be creating a website. Now, can I get a show of hands, thumbs down if you've never coded before? It's not a negative, just be a good way to gauge if anyone has coded before or created a website using code. Okay, seen a couple thumbs down. Wonderful. All right, perfect. You know what? That's great because one of the really cool things is that we do have some people who've created websites before, but hopefully you've never done it with AI. So today we're going to create a website and we're actually going to be looking at how we can incorporate the power of AI to streamline that process. So we're going to be focusing on code generation aspect, which allows you to reduce, almost eliminate the need to actually manually write code. And a lot of times AI will take care of a lot of the grunt work for you. So hopefully by the end of this, we're all going to be walking away with websites to hand that we can show off to our friends and family and be like, well, technically AI wrote this, but you wrote the prompts, so it's still yours. So to begin with, as those of you who would have seen me share in the chat earlier, please can you access the Sandbox website? So my colleague Alan will actually be sharing that in the chat. So if you can open up Code Sandbox and ChatGPT, and when you click the first link, I'm just going to share my screen, you'll be greeted by this page. Now, it may seem a bit overwhelming. You've got loads of different tabs, but really simply in the top right-hand corner, you can see something that says try for free. And if you click it, it will take you over to this new page. I'll just give everyone a quick couple seconds. If I can get some thumbs up once you're at this page. Wonderful. Give it a couple more seconds. Thank you, Irene. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Jacqueline. Wonderful. So even here, there's a lot of gobbledygook if you haven't experienced this before. And so we don't really care about all these different boxes. End of the day, it's not really something that we're looking for. But as you can see here within this box, within the top left-hand corner, there's the search template. So if I zoom in here, and what I'd like everyone to do is type HTML, and you should see that it pops up, HTML. And then from there, you can see this little one result. And if we click it, you'll then see a box loading, something loading up, and voila. We should have sort of a developer sandbox, as they're known as. Can I get a thumbs up once everyone has done that? For those of you who can't access the site from your company laptop, do not worry. I do recommend still sticking around because even just by watching through what we're going to be talking about in today's sessions, you can then take that. And then when you receive the recap email at the end of the session, provided you've checked in, you'll then be able to just catch up in your own time and you will be able to sort of go through the sessions. Wonderful. As well, Chandra. All right then. Perfect. Moving on. And by the way, just to mention, if anyone has any issues, please do message Alan and tag him. And as such, we'll be able to go through. We haven't touched any prompts yet, but this is the first step for us in building our website. So in the next stage, I then want you to open in a new tab, Chat GPT, which can be seen here. And this brings up essentially all of our AI needs. Now, if you don't have access to ChatGPT, do not worry. You can use Microsoft Copilot, you can use Gemini, you can use whatever large language model you have access to that your work is sanctioned. If you don't have access to it, again, you'll be able to revisit this in your own time on your personal devices, as we will be emailing you access to the content center, which I'll show at the end of the session, so you can get an understanding of what gets emailed out afterwards, and we'll go from there. So you can get a thumbs up once everyone has ChatGPT open or an equivalent large language model alongside having logged in and ready to go. Wonderful. Give it a couple more seconds. All right then, perfect, cool. So today we're actually going to be building a recipe blog. Now, to be honest, we could actually go ahead and code this out. This isn't going to be that complicated, but it's something that we want to use as an example for us to generate. So keeping things really simple here. This is where even from step one. So right now in our code sandboxes, not this tab, we actually see that there's a whole bunch of gobbledygook, but we've essentially got nothing there. On the left-hand side, if you navigate to Code Sandbox, we have all your code. You should see on the left-hand side is a banner where it lists a bunch of files, and you should see something called index.html. And if you click on it, you're greeted by this page, a little pop-up that has a little message in there saying this is a simple HTML plus CSS template. Now, even from there, we could start coding around, and I myself as a developer and whatnot can definitely change things as such. But this is not something that we want to do directly. Instead, what we want to do is head to ChatGPT. And in here, as I actually go back to here, we can add a really simple prompt. And we know we're going to be writing a recipe blog. And so all we can do is say, well, can you create the HTML for a recipe blog? And if we hit enter, we can see that ChatGPT actually gives us out all of the information. Now, something to note is that if we actually head back to here, we should see that if we try and click on it, we can't actually type anything. So whilst ChatGPT is loading up all of our code and whatnot, and it takes a bit of time to write, if everyone could head back to the page and click sign in, and from there, you'll be able to sign in with either Google account as such, and that way you'll be able to actually then change the information inside your HTML. So if everyone can do that, whilst your code is generating, and then we'll resume. So Lauren, all we did was to put into the, what did you put in for, sorry, what did you put in for the GPT? So all we did is we asked it to create the HTML. So I'll put it in a chat, create the HTML for a recipe. That was the prompt we used. And so if you put that into, excuse me, if you put that into your ChatGPT, you should be able to find it as such. And I'll just wait for everyone to have logged in. If I can get a thumbs up once you've logged in, and then once you have generated the code. Wonderful. Haha. Nobi brings up a very good question. How do we paste? So this is the thing, right? Since we've signed in, we then need to head over to this URL. So as you can see here, it's code. I'll just quickly resume sharing my screen. So if we head to the link that I just pasted in the chat, you'll be greeted by this new sort of blank workspace because we've signed in, we've created an account, and now we can actually start building websites that it can actually generate for us and save it just personally for us. So after the session, we can come back to things, we can have a look and play around with things as such. And also we can show it off because, hey, we're making a website using AI. Who doesn't want to show that off to your friends and family and colleagues? So if you head here, and then again, we need to create sort of the template, which is very similar to what we did initially, where we hit explore templates and we type in HTML and we open up. It'll give us a name. We can call this recipe blog. And then from there, you can hit create sandbox. And I'll give everyone just a couple seconds to get there. Again, it's the same process. Just hit explore templates, type in HTML to the top left-hand input box. You should see then the option to select HTML plus CSS, and then you want to set a name for it and create sandbox. So Naomi, if you head to the link that I just posted there, create an account. And then from here, you will then see this sort of message saying you have no recent work. So you actually then want to go explore templates. We can see here that we have ability to search templates. So if we type in HTML, we see this little pop-up appear. We can select that. We'll give it a name of recipe, blog, and then we'll create sandbox. If I get a thumbs up once everyone's done that, and then we can actually paste in the code from ChatGPT. Wonderful. Thank you, Irene. Thank you, Stephanie. Give it a couple more seconds. Quick, just refresh my page, just take everyone through that aspect. All right, then. So now we've reached here. It's a case of saying, okay, well, we can see that, ChatGPT has created us all of this gobbledygook. If you're not familiar with how to generate, if you're not familiar with coding, and it can be quite a laborious task and quite very difficult to actually go through kind of drag and drop and, oh no, we're in the second bit of code and does it really match up? We've got this line saying you can add also a CSS file. What is CSS? What does it stand for? But it's really simple. Whenever you're copying things like code, markdown, anything that kind of appears in this black box, you should see on the top right-hand side this copy code. And so if we select it, we will get a little notification saying copied. So I'll do that again. We can then navigate back to where we have all of our code sandbox, which is just over here. And we can delete all this. So there should be nothing. If we hit save, and if we paste it in, so paste, which will allow that, and we hit Control Save, Command S, we should then see that we actually have the contents of a website. So if you can go ahead and do that, and once we've done that, we will look at how we can actually make it look quite pretty and, aesthetically pleasing almost. Because let's be honest, though this can give like probably the world's best chocolate chip cookies, it doesn't look the most visually appealing. So we want to actually try and sort that out. Don't get a thumbs up once you've done that, and then we'll look at how do you actually then style it and make it look nice. Wonderful. Steven's finished. Stephanie as well. I mean, perfect. So to get the preview to show up, you should see on the right-hand side, there's a black box. And if you just click run or generate on the left-hand side, it should actually then show you the preview. Wonderful. All right, then. So to then actually then add some, well, pizzazz or styling to this, as you can see here, it's generated just the HTML, but you should see below that it's given us something with a messaging saying you can also add a CSS file. Now, this stands for cascading style sheets, which essentially is a way that you can make things look pretty. Very simple. And so again, if we follow the similar process, we copy code, we then navigate back to where we're building this website. And on the left-hand side, we should see that underneath index.html, there is a file called styles.css. And if we open it up, it just has something called H1 text decoration underline. Doesn't really mean much. But what we want to do, again, is similar process to what we did with our index file, is if we highlight it, we delete it, and we go in and paste. And as soon as we hit Control Save or Command S, we should see that actually we don't have a half bad website already there. And so if you want to go ahead and do that, and it'll be interesting to hear whether your website looks similar to mine. Does it have similar content? I mean, the website that I've generated gives me the best chocolate chip cookies. So, Stephanie, the ChatGPT prompt is a simple one, and it's saying, please generate me the HTML for a recipe blog. And then once you've done that, you can then also then follow that up with saying, now please generate me the CSS code, CSS for the blog, for the HTML. Wonderful. And if I can just get a thumbs up once everyone has done that. Any issues, please do make sure to pop it in the chat. You can directly message Alan, who is a Codex colon Alan, and he'd be more than happy to help. So can you go back to step two, of course? So step two is for this. Bum, bum, bum. So step two is when we go into here, we select all, and we paste in our HTML that we can see in our ChatGPT prompt. And then from there, we then want to do the same with our CSS, which is the code below. We copy code, and then we paste it into the styles.css file. And thumbs up once you're done that. And then we're going to actually look at, well, how can we fix some problems that we're already seeing that ChatGPT didn't actually account for? Wonderful. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Rich. We'll give it probably about a minute. In this meantime, please, if you do have any questions, please feel free to either come off mute, pop it in the chat, or you can privately DM myself or Alan, and we're more than happy to help. This is tech. Unfortunately, in this instance, turning it on and off doesn't exactly work, but at the same time, we're more than happy to troubleshoot things and get you on your way. But if you've reached this stage where it's looking pretty good, given the fact that we've, just done two copy and paste, plus writing a single line, asking ChatGPT to generate the information for us, if you can just put a thumbs up in the group, in the chat, and then we can continue on to styling out the page. Thank you, Anastasia. Thank you, Valerie. The styling did not, so Lauren says the styling did not change for my preview. Don't forget to save. So if you go in here, now if you're on a Windows PC, it'll be Control S. If you're on a MacBook, it'll be Command S, and you should find that the preview should then update. So as a reminder, we can see that, yep, we're already done. All right then, so let's move on. And as a reminder, if you do have any issues, please do do what Diane's done and just at Alan, and he'll make sure to get back to you in the chat. So has anyone seen this issue that that has popped up in terms of the image? Excuse me, I'm just going to close this tab down. In terms of this little box here, has ChatGPT generated you essentially a broken image that you can see on the preview screen? Thumbs up if it has. Yep, has for Stephanie, has for Rich. Valerie, okay, yeah. Great to see. This is for everyone. Now, this is one of the limitations that happens when it comes to using ChatGPT. And this, I think, is really important to kind of mention, particularly with the hype and the news cycle very much consuming that AI is going to replace developers, or if it goes for developers, it goes for tech jobs, and it's going to come for all of our jobs. Well, good news. ChatGPT doesn't even know how to, large language models don't really know how to recognize saying, hey, I've given you a bit of faulty code. And this is something that I do want to make quite aware of. Now, how can we actually go back and fix this ourselves? Now, what this signals is that there is a broken link, meaning that in our index.html file, we are trying to set, and in this case, in my case, it's next to the chocolate chip cookies, where that is mentioned here on the right-hand side. Basically, the code is trying to say, in this position, please put an image. That's why you see that little broken frame. And so this is where actually the human element is so important. As we can see here, now I want you to pull it up to here. We need to try and fix this. So a really easy way of us doing that is by saying to ChatGPT that they got it wrong. They got it wrong. So a great way of doing this is by going back to ChatGPT and saying, don't use any external files or images in the HTML, but instead just use placeholders. And if we do that, it will actually go back through the code and it will self-correct, given the fact that we pointed it in the right direction. So if everyone can go do that, for those of you who are seeing that issue. So again, just to reiterate, for those of you who are in session 2, when we looked at crafting effective prompts, this is a level of refinement that we need to do when it comes to our prompting for creating a website. Of course, we could actually do this in the initial prompt, but just for speed's sake, we didn't. So as you can see here, it would then generate us the image. So we can actually go through, copy the code, go back to index, get rid of that, paste again, give it a save. And as we can see here, we've got an image placeholder. And so already it's looking a lot more professional, a lot more tidy and clean, and something that we could actually use for a mock-up of let's say we were doing a marketing campaign and we wanted to mock up what a landing page would be, or we wanted to just say, hey, like I know what I want to create in terms of, let's say, a particular website, but I just want to quickly generate a mock-up so I know where everything will go. And you want to offload a lot of the heavy lifting to a large language model. Exactly, Stephanie. It does look a lot more, a lot better. A lot more cleaner, a lot more professional. I feel a lot more comfortable presenting this to people, but the other version, not so much. So once everyone's done that, if you can just put a thumbs up. And Rich says, mine gave me the same code, but used placeholder as the name of the non-existent image. I may have missed a detail in the prompt. That's still fine, Rich, because that's something which we can actually address. But if you want to be more specific, in your prompt, you can refine again by saying, instead of using the word placeholder, please can you just put an image placeholder, and it should pick up through context. And you should hopefully see something similar to this. If not, just message Alan and I'm sure he'll be able to help. And again, we'll give it about 30 more seconds. Please do put a thumbs up in the chat once you're ready, or just a react emoji. And in that way, we know where everyone is at and we can have a look to see, well, how can we actually turn this image into something a bit more relevant? And again, not to worry if you do find things a little bit confusing, and you may have been just troubleshooting certain things and you do find that your personal timing and where we're currently at are slightly off, do not worry. Please just stick around, because you can always come back in the recordings of the session, and it's always great to know where things are at and where things are mentioned. So do not worry if you're slightly behind. It's completely natural. Coding is a very new thing for many of us today. So yeah. And again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to come off mute. Zeha, I could not follow from the beginning and I'm at work. Can we have a recap at the end? Yes, of course. Please do ensure that you've checked in, Zeha. Zahia, sorry. As you'll be sent recordings of the session, so you can follow straight from the beginning and at your own pace. You can speed it up, slow it down, come back to certain elements. So provided you've checked in, we'll be able to get the recording of the session out to you along with all the links covered, and that way it should be fine to catch up. All right then. My pleasure. So essentially from there, we actually want to create a visual for our website, like in this case, we have the best chocolate chip cookies. Now, I'll be honest, it should be biscuits, but that's an hill I will sort of fight Americans on for another day, because cookies are biscuits here, biscuits are your scones. It's something that is it's very confusing, honestly. But hey, that's my issue, not yours. Um, in essence, it's quite, I mean, I could go back and be quite pedantic, but if I wanted to, and I think actually nicely, I can segue into a nice little illustrative point about using AI. If I wanted to actually go in here and say, and, mandate that actually they're called biscuits, not cookies. And, I could be quite passionate, which I am, to be honest, about the name semantics. Um, it will actually update already through it'll go back through all of the code, regenerate it with the right well, okay, with my preferred, let's not get political here, with my preferred lexicon. I think that's the right term, vernacular. Jennifer says best chocolate chip biscuits. Just doesn't sound right. Well, listen, potato, potato. I think beauty subjective in a way, but as we can see here already, it's gone back through and it's found instances where it's mentioned cookies and it's actually replaced it for us. So you can see again, instead of me having to spend time, particularly if I'm unfamiliar with something like this, and having to go through and say, okay, well, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? You can just get ChatGPT to regenerate it. So that's something to bear in mind. But let's say we actually want to create an image for this. Now we can go out, take a picture, upload to the internet, and then having to do all sort of the laborious task of using images, but then, okay, well, that's quite long and time consuming. And hey, the whole point of AI is actually to save us time. So let's think about actually, well, can we go to Google and find somewhere that we can use? So if I just searched in, and I'll yield for this session, just for the Americans here, I would say plate of cookies. If I did that, we then get into the actual problem of copyright and ownership, and royalty. So a great platform that we recommend is something called Unsplash, and essentially these are completely free of charge images. So I'll type it here. I'll share it in the chat. Oh, Alan's already done it. Perfect. Unsplash is a really good platform to use, and I recommend it whenever you're creating mock-ups of images or you're creating presentations and you're not sure whether you have access to royalty-free pictures. Again, like, I'm not being paid by them. I wish, honestly, I should set up an affiliate program or something like that, but hey, it's free, so I don't know what money you'd make. But in here we could actually then go ahead and search cookies. So cookies, and if we enter, we can see here that we've got this really nice picture of some confectionery. So if we scroll down and find one, and so if everyone can just spend a couple seconds just finding an image that relates to your website. Now, it may not have generated you a particular recipe. So mine is the world's best chocolate biscuits. See? And but at the same time, it could be something for macaroni and cheese or whatever that may be. You always want a general picture of food. So you can go in here, type food, and you can see that you've got some fantastic images that we can use. Just to keep an eye out, if and it's a dark pattern, it's something they don't particularly make too abundantly clear. If you hover over an image and it comes with this plus on the top left hand corner alongside with this button download, it means it's not royalty free. So just find one that doesn't have that. So for example, this picture of strawberries we can definitely use. So once you've picked that image out, they are really nice, Irene. Yeah. Once you pick that image out, we can actually then go ahead and use them. So we don't want to necessarily download the image. So instead, what we can do is, if I just give me a quick second. Ba, 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 Okay, so we don't want to actually download the image. So instead, what we want to do is open it up. And if we right click, we can see our menu pops up and we can actually see copy image address. And we want to click that. Then heading back to our code. Now we need to figure out, where does this live? Well, it's quite nifty actually, because we can see its image placeholder. So it's something that, well, we can actually add in here. Now, if we just copy and paste this in and I hit save, it's not really what we were trying to do, right? It's a bit wrong. It doesn't really make sense. So, okay, we need to figure something out. So this is where we actually do need to do a little bit of coding. And I'm just going to zoom in and so that I can show everyone. Now, the way we do this is by creating a link. So we type smaller bracket A, and we type something called href equals that, paste through, and I'll share this with you all in a second. Should be just that. Oh, that's broken. Wonderful. Actually, no, I've got a better idea. So as we can see here, I'm in a bit of a pickle. Can anyone suggest something that I can do? Thinking about what we're leveraging in today's session. We get chat, cry. Yeah, you know what? Like it's, yeah, Joanne, it's a real thing. But as everyone else is saying, um, definitely, yeah, we can leverage ChatGPT to generate this for us. So you know what? I'm gonna take I'm not sure, I don't believe I have the name in there. But yeah, as Stefan said, we can ask ChatGPT to pull the link. So what we can do is let's head back to here. Let's find an image we want to use. Let's use this one. Let's have a go at finding that. Copy image address. And if we head to ChatGPT, and it's just failed here, which is fine. I'll just quickly close that. Generate, I'll put a stop to that. Please, can you add in the image on this URL in and replace put it in the place of the placeholder. So we should find that it actually does that for us. It generates the code again. And even with minimal coding knowledge, we saw that there was an issue. We saw that there was an error. Instead, we actually wanted to, not necessarily have to go all the way back through and do it all again, yada, yada, yada. And it generates. It does take a little bit of time to generate. I just come in here. And as you can see, Stephanie says it worked. I'll quickly I've lost because of the Zoom screen sharing, but I've lost where my ChatGPT instance is. I just head here. If I go here, paste it, save it, as we should see now that we have a beautiful image embedded on our website, completely free of charge, royalty free. We're not breaking any laws. We're not going to get sued by anyone. Americans, hey, I know you guys do that a lot. So if anything, that's more important for you lot. There you go. That's my revenge against calling it cookies. And so, yeah, it allows us to actually, instead of having to do faffing around of, creating, going out, changing the code and whatnot, it allows us to do it straight from the get-go. And we can just regenerate the whole code. Yeah, Jennifer, so the prompts that I used, I'll just pop it in the chat. So what you want to say to ChatGPT is, please can you add, sorry, URL. So if you say, please can you add in the image on this URL and put it in place of the placeholder, you should find that it regenerates the HTML code and then does that all for you. And we'll give it about a minute. And if you can put a thumbs up once you've done that, just so we know where everyone is at. Wonderful. Thank you, Irene. Thank you, Stephanie. We've got another minute. If you do have any questions, please do feel free to message as such. So step five, Gloria, was heading to Unsplash, picking out an image. So in this case, we typed in food at the top. So if you head to the link that Alan shared, you head to type in food. Perfect. Find an image, double click, copy image address, and then using the prompt that I gave earlier, where we actually want to say regenerate the HTML, but instead of a placeholder, use this image and then paste the URL that you've copied. That will then regenerate the website with a nice, lovely image. Now, I'm conscious on time. And so similar to last week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share I'm going to share these slides in the content center. So you can have a look at how we can actually, start tailoring around with the image size. We want to resize it. We want to actually change the description on the page. We want to, as mentioned, go from cookies to biscuits, which is more proper as such. And we can, really make it our own and keep going back and forth with ChatGPT, whatever large language model you want to use for our own benefit. And again, I think this is as time does not permit, as we are coming up on it, and we have a little bit more to get through. This will be in the slideshow that will be on the content center, and I'll also link to a previous session where an instructor went through this segment. So please do feel free to review that. Um, and so, yeah, I think I'm curious as to know why you think we might have done this session. I'm going to close this down just in case someone can see the next slide. This is a 10-session course. We do things on empowering people with ChatGPT, but can anyone sort of take a guess or a gander as to why we might have shown the example of building your own website, and using AI tools? You can personally DM me and I can read it out, anonymizing yourself. But I'm curious if anyone can has sort of caught on as to why we took this as an example for today's session. Chandra, on how to use and get better on these tools, that is definitely an element. Practicing with ChatGPT on prompt engineering is a very strong thing to do. So expanding horizon, not panic about job loss, avoid replying on paid sites such as Shopify. I think everyone's been hitting the nail on the head. So a lot of people are mentioning, it's decreasing the learning time. And I think many people here, please do keep putting your responses in the chat. It'd be really great to read through these afterwards. I'd love to get in contact and learn a bit more about whether you guys actually took this away. But showing you how you can leverage AI to do a lot of a little. Now, bear in mind, most of you here are not coders. You don't have the foggiest idea about how to build websites, but already here, you've built a website that, looks pretty damn good. And so it's something where in which we really want to encourage you all to push yourself using large language models and see it as a way that you can actually acquire new skills, even if you only know a little bit, getting AI to do a lot of heavy work so you can focus on the things that matter. I think that's something that is really important, and I hope you've been able to take that away from today's session. If you haven't, let me know. That's my job. And it'll be good to get the feedback anyway. But yeah, I want to take a quick second actually to just show you guys all something that ChatGPT can actually do. So this is going to look quite weird, but on the context of coding, this is code that I've been working on for the past few days. It's for our own platform that we're going to be launching in a few months. Excuse me. But as we can see here, it's hundreds of lines of code. And what that amalgamates to is something like this. Now, bear in mind, I am not a good developer. I am kind of like mediocre. I'm okay. But at the same time, I was able to leverage my little knowledge of development and actually build something that, is code first and something which I really recommend, you take away as a point that you can see how far you can actually push your abilities. And it's something that, just wanted to share with you all. So that brings us to the end of the session. Thank you so much for coming along. If anyone did have any questions, now is the best time to answer. As a reminder, please do what's it called? Please do check in for today's session so that you'll receive an email from myself alongside the recap and link to the content center to give you an idea what the content center looks like. It's a, oh, that's the wrong one. Or can't access it here. Many of you have seen it before. It's just the Notion doc and you can jump in. As always, any issues, please do feel free to reach out to us at hello@codingwithcodex.co.uk. It's a mouthful. If you can give us a better name, like please let us know. And so, yeah, any questions for now, please do feel free to come off mute and answer it. More than happy to address any problems you may face in the session and answer any questions. I can see here that someone has mentioned, how would you use JavaScript with the website? Lauren, did you raise your hand? Do you want to answer that question? Feel free to come off mute if needs be.
So yes, I was just noticing that we had the three different areas with the HTML and the style. So I was wondering if we wanted to incorporate JavaScript, how would we do that?
So I think, so to give you a real, very quick and very brief lesson about what do you know what JavaScript is, Lauren, by any chance?
Somewhat, but
Yeah.
not too familiar.
Okay, cool. So just for everyone here, JavaScript essentially is a programming language that allows us to create interactivity on websites. And typically it expands past websites. You can use it for things like Slack is built with your JavaScript. You have mobile apps, you have desktop apps and websites and as such. However, essentially in this case, we would need to tell ChatGPT to perform a particular action. So for example, if we wanted to say, ChatGPT, here are two URLs to two different images and create me a button that when clicked, it will use JavaScript to then switch the image. And then that way, ChatGPT knows the context in which you want to perform a particular action. So that's how you can do something like that. Otherwise, learning Java using large language models actually learn JavaScript is a great idea, and going down that route. I hope that made sense. And if not, please do let me know. All right then. Any more for any more? I'm conscious of the time. Thank you for letting things run over. Great to hear, Lauren. That made sense. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you all next week. As a reminder, we don't control signups. I do my best to always ensure that I send the next week's sign up link in the email. So please make sure that you just keep an eye out for that. If not, if there's nothing else, um, I think we can wrap up. My very pleasure, everyone. I love this session. We turn so many people into coders. It's so cool to see. All right then. Have a wonderful Friday, everyone. Have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. All the best, everyone, and take care.